As she gazed up at the starless sky, her voice, frail yet laden with emotion, broke the silence. "Oh God," she whispered, "I never thought I would be in this condition, forgotten, invisible, a shadow in the lives of those who pass me by." Under the dim glow of a streetlight, Ella huddled against the cold, the worn fabric of her coat barely warding off the chill of the night. Her eyes, once vibrant and full of the joy of creation, now reflected the harshness of her reality. Ella's journey to this desolate moment was an amalgam of heartbreak and loss. Years ago, she was the heart and soul of the art scene in her city. Her paintings were celebrated in galleries and esteemed by art lovers. Her portraits were more than mere images. They were windows into the souls of her subjects, vibrant and alive. But as fate would have it, an unrelenting illness took hold of her, crippling not just her body, but her ability to paint. The very essence of her identity was stripped away, leaving her a mere echo of her former self. The descent into her current plight was gradual but relentless. Medical bills piled up, eating into her savings, the relentless tide of expenses eroding her financial stability like waves on a fragile shore. The final blow came when her landlord, devoid of sympathy for her plight, evicted her, citing unpaid rents and unmet promises. Now, the streets became her home, the hard concrete her bed. The city, which once applauded her, now passed her by without a glance. She spent her days wandering, a ghost amidst the bustle, her presence barely acknowledged. Nights were the hardest, the cold seeping into her bones, the loneliness a constant companion. Ella's health continued to decline, the lack of proper nutrition and the harshness of street life taking its toll. Her spirit, once invincible and vibrant, began to wane. Every dawn, as the city slowly stirred to life, Ella would begin her daily sojourn through the streets, a routine etched into her existence by necessity and survival. Her first steps were always hesitant, as if she had to relearn the rhythm of life on the streets each morning. She would pass by the same storefronts and cafes, each a reminder of a life that once was. As the day progressed, Ella would go to the bustling market district, teeming with life and activity. Here, amidst the cacophony of vendors calling out their wares and the hustle of busy shoppers, Ella felt a semblance of belonging. She would weave through the crowds, her eyes always alert for a kind-hearted vendor who might spare a piece of fruit or a stale loaf of bread. These small acts of kindness were rare, but when they occurred, they were like rays of sunshine piercing her cloudy days. Ella would sit on a worn bench, watching life unfold around her, a silent observer on the periphery. Sometimes she would find a half-eaten sandwich or an unopened bag of chips left behind, scraps that she accepted with quiet gratitude. The food search was a daily challenge, a humbling and often demoralizing task, yet she faced it with a resilience that had become her armor against the harshness of her reality. Each day, as she lay down to rest, her thoughts would drift to a time when life was kinder. Her art was her sustenance, and the world admired her creations. One cold evening, as Ella sat huddled in a less frequented alley, her frail voice humming a tune that once inspired her paintings, her life was about to take an unexpected turn. James, a wealthy businessman known for his cruelty in the corporate world, but secretly battling his demons of loneliness and unfulfillment, happened to take a shortcut through the alley. His eyes, usually focused on the path ahead, were inexplicably drawn to the fragile figure of Ella. There is something about her, perhaps her quiet dignity or the remnants of grace in her posture, made him pause. This pause was unlike James, a man always in a hurry, always moving forward. Yet there he stood, watching Ella, her humming now a haunting melody that seemed to echo in the emptiness of his heart. Their eyes met, and a silent understanding passed between them briefly. For Ella, it was the acknowledgement she hadn't felt in years. For James, it was a glimpse into a world he had long ignored, one filled with stories and struggles so different from his own. In that moment, Ella's world, filled with despair and abandonment, intersected with James's, a life of success, but devoid of real connection. This chance encounter was about to change their lives in ways they could never have imagined. James, moved by the depth of Ella's despair and intrigued by the mysterious aura surrounding her, decided to take her home. He could not shake off the feeling that their encounter was more than a coincidence. Ella found a quiet corner to rest in his spacious but impersonal house, her weary body and spirit in dire need of care. Realizing the gravity of her condition, James arranged for medical attention. Days turned into weeks as Ella received treatment, the kindness of a stranger nursing her back to health. As her physical strength returned, so did glimpses of her old self, the artist within, long suppressed by the hardships of life. James, who had initially extended help out of a sense of responsibility, became increasingly captivated by Ella's resilience and intrigued by her past. In an attempt to reignite her passion and provide a therapeutic outlet, James brought her painting supplies. Hesitant at first, Ella's hands eventually found their old rhythm and she began to paint again. Each stroke on the canvas was a piece of her soul, blending her tumultuous past and present resurgence. Her paintings were vibrant and poignant, echoing her journey. One day, in a burst of inspiration, Ella painted a child's portrait. There was something familiar in the innocence and hope reflected in the young boy's eyes. When James saw the painting, he was taken aback. It was him, a portrait of his childhood self, an image he recognized from an old photograph he kept hidden away, a remnant of his past. Stunned, he asked Ella about the painting. The moment she saw the photograph James held, a flood of memories returned. She was speechless, her mind reeling from the revelation. She had been a foster mother, a brief but significant part of this man's life. She remembered the young James, a bright, curious child she had adored. But under pressure from her late husband, who disapproved of the child and their financial strain, she had made the heart-wrenching decision to leave him at an orphanage. Tears filled Ella's eyes as she recounted the story. She spoke of her love for the young James, her regret, and the circumstances that led to their separation. She had always wondered about the boy's fate, hoping he had found a better life. James listened, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through him. He had grown up in the orphanage, constantly yearning for a sense of belonging. His drive to succeed was fueled by the desire to prove his worth and never to feel helpless again. He shared his journey with Ella, from the struggles of his youth to the heights of his corporate success. Yet, despite his wealth and achievements, he had always felt a void, an unexplained longing for something he couldn't quite grasp. In this unexpected reunion, both Ella and James found pieces of their past that had been missing. For Ella, it was the closure and forgiveness she had longed for. For James, it was the understanding of his longing for familial connection. The revelation transformed their relationship. Ella was no longer just a homeless woman he had helped. She was a crucial part of his life story, a link to his past that he had unknowingly yearned for. Their bond deepened, rooted in a shared history and a newfound understanding. Ella continued to paint, her art now infused with purpose and healing. James found joy in supporting her passion, creating a studio space in his home. Her paintings became a bridge between her past sorrows and her current redemption, each canvas telling a story of resilience and hope. As for James, he experienced a profound change in perspective. His success, once a means to fill the void of his orphaned childhood, now took on a new meaning. He found fulfillment in his connection with Ella, a sense of family he had never known.